The true meaning of the book of Revelation can only be revealed when Jesus Christ chooses to do so. Revelation may seem impossible to understand. Many hundreds of books have been written, but until Jesus Christ chooses to reveal the meaning of Revelation in the end times, it cannot be understood. But Jesus is revealing Revelation today. To understand Revelation, you only need two books. You need the Bible and the book that Jesus was warning about. Prophecy experts that draw attention to themselves and sell their books are almost certainly giving the wrong interpretation of Revelation. You are worthy, our Lord and God, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things, and by your will they were created, and they have their being. Revelation 4:11. Revelation Revealed will start simply by how you can explain Revelation correctly to a skeptic. Next, we will show how you can explain Revelation's meaning to a new Christian. And finally, how you can explain the deep meaning of Revelation to a prophecy student who likes to study Bible prophecy. Let's begin with how to explain the meaning of Revelation to a Bible skeptic. The first thing to understand is that the book of Revelation is directly from Jesus Christ. The revelation from Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his servants what must soon take place, he made it known by sending his angel to his servant John. Revelation 1:1. Jesus gave these revelation prophecies to John in 95 AD, some 515 years before the Spirit appeared to Muhammad, beginning in 610 AD, giving a false story about Jesus. In Revelation chapter 22, verses 18 and 19, Jesus warns that a false text with words added and words taken away will come sometime after the book of Revelation. Listen carefully to what Jesus says in Revelation 22, verses 18 and 19. I warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this scroll. If anyone adds anything to them, God will add to that person the plagues described in this scroll. And if anyone takes words away from this scroll of prophecy, God will take away from that person any share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in this scroll. Jesus was warning about the Qur'an, which does these very things. We can also show a skeptic that a revelation prophecy promise from Jesus can be seen in the world today. In Revelation chapter 3, Jesus gave a special promise to the church at Philadelphia. Although many people think the church at Philadelphia does not exist, it still is in existence and has a special promise from Jesus. In Revelation chapter 3, we can see the special promise that Jesus gave to the Philadelphia church. Revelation 3, 7, and 8. To the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these are the words of him who is holy and true, who holds the key of David. What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. In chapter 3, verse 10, Jesus tells us even more. Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come on the whole world to test the inhabitants of the earth. Jesus will protect them from the teachings of this book that is going to come into the world. Just as Jesus promised, he gave the Philadelphia church an open door no one can shut. This is true even to today. After World War I, the Islamic Turks sought to kill all of the Christians in Turkey. In 1923, the entire Christian population of Philadelphia, some 20,000 people, were moved as an entire group to a new city outside of Athens, Greece, called New Philadelphia, where they still worship Christ today. They have an open door no one can shut. The Christians in Philadelphia, worshiping Jesus since the time of the apostles, were given an open door no one can shut. Moving from a simple explanation to a skeptic, let's look in a little more detail as to what a new Christian might want to know about the book of Revelation. Here we will look more closely at the words that were added and the words that were taken away that Jesus warned us about. Listen carefully to what Jesus said. These are not just any changes in the words. The words added give the specific plagues of Revelation, and the words taken away take away the atoning sacrifice of Jesus and the access to the tree of life. This is a battle between living water and bitter water. The living water of Jesus Christ versus the bitter water of the Qur'an. The horses and riders I saw in my vision looked like this. Their breastplates were fiery red, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. The heads of the horses resembled the heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and sulfur. A third of mankind was killed by the 3 plagues of fire, smoke, and sulfur that came out of their mouths. The Qur'an means to recite. The false words that Jesus warned about that will kill a third of mankind spiritually comes out of their mouth. This is the false story about Jesus. In Revelation 22:18, Jesus tells us specifically that the words added give the specific plagues of Revelation. This means plagues associated with worshiping the beast, praying to his image, taking his mark, and listening to his false prophet. Now let's look at the specific words that were added that give the plagues of Revelation, the verses in the Qur'an. In Revelation 14:11, Jesus said, "Do not worship the beast." In Qur'an 20:14, Allah tells people to worship him. "Verily, I am Allah. There is no God beside me, so serve me and establish prayers to remember me." Jesus said, "Do not pray to the image." In Quran 2:144, Allah tells you to face the image when you pray to it. We have been seeing you turning your face to the heavens, so we will certainly assign to you a prayer direction that you would like. Now turn your face in the direction of the sacred mosque, the Kaaba in Mecca, and O Muslims, wherever you are, turn your faces in its direction. Now we will look at the words that the Quran takes away. Jesus warned us about this in Revelation 22:19. The Quran takes away the sacrifice of Jesus that takes away the sins of the world. Allah of the Quran, the ruler who is to come, takes away the Lord's Supper. There is a passage in the book of Daniel that has not been understood until this very day. It could not be understood until God unsealed Daniel in the last days. Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease." This passage in the book of Daniel has been misunderstood by many people trying to understand Bible prophecy. They have incorrectly thought it is about grain and animal sacrifices at a rebuilt third temple in Jerusalem. This is incorrect. This prophecy is about a sacrifice far more important than an animal or grains. This passage is about the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, his atoning sacrifice on the cross, the oblation. We know from many Bible passages that Jesus is the perfect sacrifice. There is no path to the Father but through the atoning sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 5 through 7. Therefore, when Christ came into the world, he said, "Sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but a body you prepared for me. With burnt offerings and sin offerings you were not pleased. Then I said, Here I am. It is written about me in the scroll. I have come to do your will, my God." Daniel uses the words, "cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease." The prince to come, Allah, Baal, will try to put a stop to the sacrifice and the oblation of Christ. The Oxford Biblical Studies Group gives the oblation definition in use since the time of Christ. Oblation, a cereal offering presented to God, Leviticus 2:4, and denounced by prophets, Isaiah 1:13, when unaccompanied by social righteousness. In Christian usage, the word was applied to Christ, who offered himself in sacrifice. Later, the word was used in the Eucharist as a commemoration of Christ's self-offering and to the elements of bread and wine used in the service. These are the elements used in the Lord's Supper. The oblation, the sacrifice that matters, is the atoning sacrifice of Jesus Christ and nothing else. The Bible makes this clear over and over. Allah, Baal from the abyss, the beast of Revelation, opposes the atoning sacrifice of Jesus Christ for two reasons. First, the atoning sacrifice of Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is the Son of God, causes Jesus Christ to be worshipped, and Allah wants no one worshipped other than himself. Second, the atoning sacrifice is the only path to heaven and to the Father. In the Qur'an, in chapter 5, Allah devotes an entire chapter to taking away the atoning sacrifice remembrance of Jesus Christ, the Lord's Supper, the Lord's table. This chapter in the Qur'an is called the table. The true meaning of the oblation being taken away in Daniel 9:27 was given to me in a vision. In this vision, I saw a young girl standing in line to take communion to celebrate the Lord's Supper, and she was holding a loaf of bread. Then she was surrounded by demonic men, agents of Allah, who descended upon her and took the bread out of her hands. They were very proud that they had taken the bread away from her. This is the true meaning of Daniel 9:27. The beast of Revelation takes away the Lord's Supper. Islam appeared in the middle of the seven. This is a different seven than most people understand. It was 2,520 Hebrew years and stretched from 536 BC until 1948. In the middle of the seven was when Islam appeared and the beast appeared to Muhammad. Now let's look closely at Quran chapter 5, the table. In this chapter, the beast of Revelation emerged from the abyss, appeared to Muhammad, and gave him a false story about Jesus. This false story included a false story about the Lord's Supper, the Lord's table. To understand how important the Lord's table is to the beast of Revelation, we'll start with Quran verse 5:115. This is the severe punishment Allah gives to anyone who believes anything different about the Lord's table. Allah said, "I will send it down to you, but whoever among you disbelieves thereafter, I will punish him with a punishment the like of which I never punished any other being." Now, beginning in verse 112, we can see what Allah is talking about. "And when the disciples said, 'O Jesus, son of Mary, is your Lord able to bring down for us a feast from heaven?' He said, 'Fear Allah if you are believers.'" Verse 113 says, They said, "We wish to eat from it, so that our hearts may be reassured, and know that you have told us the truth, and be among those who witness it." Verse 114, Jesus, son of Mary, said, "O Allah, our Lord, send down for us a table from heaven, to be a festival for us, for the first of us and the last of us, and a sign from you, and provide for us. You are the best of providers." The story of the table given to Jesus in Qur'an chapter 5 is a false story. The true story is given in the Bible. For example, in Matthew chapter 26, verses 26 through 29. Now as they were eating, Jesus took bread, and after blessing it, broke it, and gave it to the disciples, and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." And he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink again of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." Do not believe the stories in the Quran about Jesus. They are false stories given by a demon who wants to be God. Read the Bible and listen to the words of Jesus. The words of Jesus are always true, and Jesus will never disappoint you. The Bible tells us many times that Jesus was crucified for our sins, died, and was buried, and rose from the dead. Many witnesses saw this. Now let's look at the third group of people, the prophecy student that wants to know even more about what Jesus has revealed in the book of Revelation. Let's start by explaining the four horsemen of Revelation chapter 6. Let's look at the first rider on a white horse, which was Muhammad. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. The bow connects Muhammad to Ishmael. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. The 4 horsemen of Revelation are the first 4 Islamic leaders: Muhammad, Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman. Then the Lamb opened the second seal. I heard the second living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. When the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. The colors of the four horsemen: white, red, black, and pale green. It's no coincidence that these are the colors of all Islamic flags in the Middle East. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the four living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine. To understand this passage, you must first understand that a day's wage was 20 pounds of wheat. Umar's tax was 10%. 10% of a day's wage was 2 pounds of wheat, just like the Bible said. The Bible is perfectly accurate. Do not damage the oil or the wine. Umar did not tax oil or wine. Jesus tells us the four colors will be white, red, black, and pale green. When the Lamb broke the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." Authority over a fourth of the earth. I looked, and behold, an ashen, pale green horse, and he who sat on it had the name Death, and Hades was following him. Authority was given to them over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, with famine, and with pestilence, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Authority over a quarter of the earth. Jesus does not say they kill 1/4 of the earth. Now let us look where is Mystery Babylon, the harlot city of Revelation. It is not Rome, it is Mecca. The name written on her forehead was a mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth. The Bible gives us the exact location of Mystery Babylon. The first biblical fact: Mystery Babylon is in the desert wilderness. The second biblical fact: Mystery Babylon sits on 7 mountains. The third biblical fact: Mystery Babylon rules over the kings of the earth. The fourth biblical fact: Mystery Babylon has a wicked temple seen by Zechariah in prophecy. The fifth biblical fact: Mystery Babylon is south of Jerusalem. The sixth biblical fact: Mystery Babylon is very wealthy. The seventh biblical fact is that Mystery Babylon believes it is special and will never mourn. The eighth biblical fact: Mystery Babylon gains its wealth from the sea trade. Revelation 17:3 NIV translation: The woman in the desert wilderness. Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. Revelation 17:3 Good News translation: The woman in the desert wilderness. The Spirit took control of me, and the angel carried me to a desert. There I saw a woman sitting on a red beast that had names insulting to God written all over it. The beast had 7 heads and 10 horns. The Greek word translated as desert wilderness is erema, meaning a deserted place, uninhabited region, desert, lonely, deserted, uninhabited, desolate. Revelation 17, verses 9 and 10. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and they are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come, and when he comes he must remain a little while. Revelation 17:18. The woman whom you saw is the great city, which reigns over the kings of the earth. Then the angel who was speaking to me came forward and said to me, Look up and see what is appearing. I asked, What is it? He replied, It is a basket. And he added, This is the iniquity of the people throughout the land. Then the cover of lead was raised, and there in the basket sat a woman. He said, This is wickedness. And he pushed her back into the basket and pushed its lead cover down on it. Then I looked up, and there before me were 2 women with the wind in their wings. They had wings like those of a stork, and they lifted up the basket between heaven and earth. Where are they taking the basket? I asked the angel who was speaking to me. He replied, To the country of Babylonia, to build a house for it. When the house is ready, the basket will be set there in its place. The NASB translation shows that the woman will be set upon a pedestal. You can see that the black stone in the Kaaba is set on a pedestal. Then he said to me, to build a temple for her in the land of Shinar, and when it is prepared, she will be set there on her own pedestal. Zechariah chapter 6, verses 1 through 3. Again I lifted my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 chariots came out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of bronze. The first chariot had red horses, the second black horses, the third white horses, and the fourth chariot dappled horses, all of them strong. The 4 chariots that Zechariah sees are connected to the 4 empires seen by Daniel. The first is Babylon. The second are the Mede-Persians. The third are the Seleucid Greeks. And the 4th kingdom is Islam. Zechariah chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Then I answered and I said to the angel who talked with me, What are these, my Lord? And the angel answered and said to me, These are going out to the 4 winds of heaven, after presenting themselves before the Lord of all the earth. Zechariah chapter 6, verse 6. The chariot with the black horses goes towards the north country. The white ones go after them, and the dappled ones go toward the south country. Zechariah is telling us the 4th kingdom, patrolled by the dappled horses, goes towards the south country. Mecca is south of Jerusalem. Rome is not. The geo-coordinates from Jerusalem are that Mecca is 157 degrees to the south-southeast. In contrast, Rome is 305 degrees to the west-northwest. The south country is Mecca. Revelation 18:16. They will weep and mourn and cry out, Woe, woe to you, great city, dressed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, and glittering with gold, precious stones and pearls. In 1 hour such great wealth has been brought to ruin. Revelation 18:7. Give her as much torment and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. In her heart she boasts, I sit enthroned as a queen. I am not a widow. I will never mourn. Revelation 18:19. They will throw dust on their heads, and with weeping and mourning cry out, Woe, woe to you, great city, where all who had ships on the sea became rich through her wealth. In 1 hour she has been brought to ruin. Altogether, Islam fulfills more than 225 Bible prophecies. The likelihood is virtually certain that the Bible prophecies Jesus was warning about are about Islam and the teachings of the false prophet and the worship of a false god who calls himself Allah. Jesus tells us how we can be absolutely certain that the teachings of the Qur'an are not from the true God. Qur'an 4:171. Allah is indeed just one God. Far be it from his glory that he should have a son. Who is the liar? It is whoever denies that Jesus is the Christ. Such a person is the Antichrist, denying the Father and the Son. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever acknowledges the Son has the Father also. In Revelation and Daniel, references to the land or the earth are references to the physical realm. References to the sea means reference to the spiritual realm. Many people think the seals, trumpets, and bowls in Revelation are chronological. They are not chronological. The seals are telling us about events in the human realm. The trumpets are telling us about events in the spiritual realm. And the bowls are the actions of God on the day of the Lord. How can we be sure Muhammad is the false prophet? The Quran says there is no prophet after Muhammad. Muhammad is the final prophet, the seal of the prophets. Therefore, he must be the false prophet. Islam fulfills precisely all of the time markers given in Daniel and Revelation. It fulfills the 1290 days until the abomination is set up, the 1260 days in the wilderness, and the 42 months until the holy city of Jerusalem is liberated. Islam's two main structures in Jerusalem, the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the wing and the Dome of the Rock in the center of the Temple Mount, are the two abominations that God talks about in the Bible. The abominable temple on the wing is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Gentiles were given the outer court, which is where the Dome of the Rock was placed. The beast of Revelation, Baal, wants prayer from all over the world to be directed to him. This is true for earlier civilizations as well. This is why the pyramids, Stonehenge, the stone circles of Europe, the temples of the Aztecs, and the ziggurats of Ur all precisely face Mecca. Jesus came to save the world, not to condemn the world. Jesus came to save Muslims along with all other peoples. Learn the truth of Jesus while there is some time. Jesus has revealed the meaning of Revelation so that you may know the truth. The truth will set you free. Put your trust in Jesus. His words are true. You can trust the many resurrection truths of Jesus Christ. After that, he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom are still living, though some have fallen asleep. Jesus fulfilled more than 351 Old Testament prophecies. The prophet Daniel gives the crucifixion date more than 600 years before it happened. This is given in Daniel chapter 9, verses 25 and 26. March 5th, 444 BC to April 3rd, 33 AD is 173,880 days, just as Daniel said. NASA confirms a lunar eclipse over Jerusalem on April 3rd, 33 AD at 6 p.m. But that is not the end of the story. Jesus did not remain in the grave. Jesus rose from the dead on Sunday, April 5th, 33 AD. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Isaiah tells us, "But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed." Jesus answered, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." John 14:6. Jesus is truth. Find the truth while you still have time.